Take a look in the eyes of a legend. Mind over matter, let's fight this depression. Let's fight this oppression. Fight back with aggression. This come with your heart, I provide all the weapons. Come take a look in the eyes of a soldier. I drop that real and it spread like Ebola. Man, on my word, I don't know what they told you. I got the weight of the world on my... Let me tell you. Everybody know the name. I'm one of one, I'm a god in my lane. The devil up on me, I'm marching in flames. The Lord in my heart, I got my angel wings. They talk about people accomplishing dreams. They talk about me and the rest of my team. Keeping it G and they don't win this team. It get complicated like Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Top down, screaming out money and a thing. Box out, never let a nigga in my lane. Cropped out, you would get taken out the frame. Dropped out, nigga had to find another way. I don't like what you bitch niggas hate from afar. I respect when it's supposed to first. Ain't about what you say, it's about what you show me. Decisions you make and reverse. I got a whole list of shit I'm allergic to. Fuck niggas, snitch niggas, I don't want no sort of ties. Most of y'all niggas fugazi and lazy, like y'all never learn how to prioritize. Me and my niggas, we all kind of wavy, cause niggas like us put it all on the line. Straight to the Benjamins, hustle unlimited. Plus you know we got unlimited vibes. Stay low, go hard.
You are listening to with show host Wood.
All right, that's enough of that. Hey, look, I'm just going to get in here and chop it up about a couple of things. Hope everybody's doing well. We in what, week 6, 7, whatever it is. I don't even know what day it is or nothing. But, I hope you're keeping you and yours safe. And also during this time, I'm hoping you're having a chance to reflect on, some things to get yourself together. And, taking out some time to see what it is. Because life's got to be a little bit more precious, I would imagine, coming out of this situation. I would think that some of us or a lot of us recognize that you really, tomorrow is not promised. So sitting on the sidelines about various things in life, this should put a battery in a lot of people's backs to get up, get out, and do something. But that's that. Please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like button. I'm going to put the call-in number up here. If anybody wants to jump in with any topic, you can jump on the line, give me a call, and holler at me. My name is Wood. Thanks for rocking with the Pay Me No Mind Sports and Entertainment channel. I got the topics down there at the bottom. Talk about this Flea Lord album. I never heard about this dude until like yesterday, but I got in a walk. I got in like a 2-mile walk and a 6-mile bike ride today, and checked this kid out. And he's connected or affiliated with the Griselda family, which I've talked about extensively on here. And he's also a protege of the late Prodigy from or just P from Mobb Deep. So I'm gonna talk about that. I got some thoughts on this Isiah Thomas situation. With the world coming for Isiah all these years later. Seriously? Zeke's name is cemented. He doesn't have all this apologizing. They had him on ESPN yesterday, trying to be all politically correct and speaking in today's politics or sensitivities. The hell with all that, bro. It's the bad boys. Stay the bad boys. You don't apologize to nobody for nothing. We'll get into that. Sticking with basketball, I rock with Draymond Green, man. I know a lot of people came at Draymond this year for whatever reason. You get some lame dudes out here online talking, celebrating and clapping because he had a horrible season. I don't care, man. Draymond is a winner. I didn't care for what he did with KD. I didn't care for how he handled that situation. But I'm a huge KD fan. KD the only dude in the league that I really, really like, just about. Especially from an individual perspective. KD the only dude that I like to watch play basketball. With Draymond, I'll get into a couple of reasons why I don't care if he does nothing else for the rest of his career. Like his greatest moment is cemented. I mean, his greatest moment, he can't fall from that, in my opinion. And he's also he's a team guy. He's probably the best finals teammate. And if we get to talking about third and fourth guy, number 3 and number 4, I can't think of many dudes who are better than Dre, who had a better outing than Draymond. Nah, they didn't get the chip that year in 2016. But a couple of things that he did trying to rectify a situation when he got screwed on that BS when they set him down for that game, for game 6, after the getting tangled up with LeBron in game 5. But he tried to come back and do his thing. So for me, I ain't got no problems with Draymond. Some football talk. Aaron Rodgers, Green Bay Packers. The national media does not come for Green Bay nearly enough. But they have sat here and nearly wasted the career of of a first ballot Hall of Fame guy, a top three quarterback, all-time quarterback or whatever, the best passer of the ball that we've seen. They've sat here and just squandered all of this man's years of service. You know now that they haven't drafted a skilled player in the first round since he's been there, but they had a graphic touchdown passes to first round wide receivers. Peyton Manning had like 193 or something. Aaron Rodgers had one pass to somebody from the first. There was a first round wide receiver. One touchdown pass. Come on, man. They got to do better. Now I'm a huge Redskins fan. I'm not gonna give you the deepest draft breakdown. That's not my skill set. But I'm gonna take a look at this collection of players that we brought in. That honestly, I feel like just a teaser on that. I feel like they just stuck it out with getting Chase Young. It was a no-brainer. We gonna get Chase Young and the rest of these guys. We'll see what happens. I'm seeing some things about the kid from Memphis, Antonio Gibson. I'm optimistic, and I gotta believe that somebody saw something, and the scouts gotta earn their money. The GM I don't even think they have a GM still. I think they got a vice president of personnel or whatever. This Kyle Smith dude, I think is his name. I gotta believe that working in conjunction with Ron Rivera, that they saw something in these guys. I don't see it. It seems like a bunch of projects. And another thing that makes me a little leery about this whole situation, and I got to believe in Ron Rivera because that's who we got right now. But I just don't know how you get so excited about a coach who was just 13 games above 500. I honestly don't know. I honestly don't know what that's all about. It's not like this is it's not like this is Bill Belichick with all types of postseason success and years and years and years of great draft classes and all of that. This just isn't that. So all I know is I'm gonna buy me a Chase Young jersey, and I feel like they're on the clock because come year 4, if all goes well with Chase Young, you got to pay the kid, and hopefully by that time you've put something around the guy that's inexpensive to go along with his price tag, because you're probably looking at paying that kid $25 million in a few years. So you better get everything in order as soon as possible. And some of these guys that they picked up got to pan out to be something quickly. And then lastly, I'm going to get into I'll go back. I'll lump this in with the basketball talk, but MJ versus LeBron. I didn't see episodes 3 and 4 of this Last Dance. I only saw like the last 3 quarters of episode 4. But looking at MJ, I know this reignites the whole discussion about MJ versus LeBron. It's one thing that I think we can automatically go to 6-0, never played a game 7 in the finals, all the MVP stuff versus LeBron and his 3 and 6 or whatever it is. We can obviously go with that, but I think it was something in back in that era and what was common for the 90s. I think it was something going on that made it easy for MJ to have the success that he's had, and why the game is built the way it is today. That's worked against LeBron in these final situations. And then let's face it, he hasn't really been favored in any of these finals. He really hasn't been favored in many of them anyway. But still, I think it's a certain factor that's present now that wasn't like that back in the day. So let me get into it. I'm gonna put this. I said I was gonna put this call-in number if anybody want to jump in with anything to talk about. Let's see if I can get this out of here. Now that might. So this Fleet Lord album, I didn't even know this kid. I was looking at this other brother that does a lot of reviews on his channel. I think his name is Marquise Walker. Shout out to that brother. I think he's out of Boston or something, Massachusetts and whatnot. But you know, man, I mentioned this before. I only started streaming or a subscription to a streaming service to listen to my music. I broke down and did it about a year and a half ago. I was a diehard. You know, I want my physical copy. I want a CD. I need to comb through the CD jacket and whatnot. And I want to know who produced everything, who worked on it, who wrote everything. You know, everybody that had a hand in it, I want to know. And a younger dude was talking about Tidal. I didn't go with Tidal, but because I'm an Android guy, I went and took the Amazon streaming service. And I tell you, man, over the last year and a half or so, man, it's just been great to just go out and listen to various projects. You know, I ain't got to worry about running to no store. Or, you know, they don't even order music the way that they used to. If you're shopping at Target or Best Buy or something, they don't even really stock up CDs like they used to. But it's so many rap artists out nowadays. You know, depending on where you live, they're probably not stocking most of this stuff anyway. But messing around with the stream game, I've just been able to go in, and as I see different stuff on Instagram or I see different videos pop up on YouTube, man, it's really been great to just go ahead. I get somebody, you know, I listen to a couple of tracks, and if I don't like it, you know, I move on. But I checked this Fleet Lord dude out because I thought he was with Griselda, which is Westside Gunn, Conway, and Benny the Butcher. But he's actually on his own. He's actually out here on his own, but he's affiliated with them. I'll get into how he's kind of connected to them here in just a second. Where was I going? He's actually out of Queens. He's not even out of Buffalo. Like the Griselda family. But here's a cover of the album. It's called Lucky 13. I believe it's like 13 joints on there. But just, I mean, if you like Griselda, if you like what Benny is doing and rolling out this Black Soprano family, it's all right in line with that. It's the same kind of vibe. You see right here with the record cover or the album cover. It's kind of this weird thing that and I don't even want to say it's weird, maybe a little artsy. But they got a different way that they're marketing their stuff, and I think it's really working for them. I like that all of the beats on here. It's all produced by one cat. It's a dude named DJ Shay. I don't know a whole lot about, but I'm digging his sound. He's produced a lot of joints that I like from Griselda. Crowns for Kings with from Benny the Butcher with Black Thought. He also produced this new track that's out there from Benny's Black Soprano family, The Mob. You can catch that video on YouTube. I like the sound of that joint. DJ Shay is actually giving them a bit of a different sound from Derringer, who does most of the production for them. So I'm really liking just the vibe that his music, his sound that he aims for. I think it's a good look for them. It's not as dark. It's not as it's a little bit more. It's not mainstream or commercial sounding, but it is a bit. It's just different. I mean, if you listen to Derringer and a lot of what he does, a lot of that stuff is dark. Is extremely dark. A little difficult to nod your head to and rap to sometimes because it's different. It's different. Derringer is a unique producer. He also produced 18. This DJ Shay Cat also produced 18 Wheeler. It's another Benny the Butcher joint. Rayful Bag is another one that he did. I'm gonna check this Cocaine Symphony out from RJ Payne. RJ Payne is a up and coming dude. I've been checking out a lot the last couple of weeks. I think he's like a New York City cat. I don't know a whole lot about him, but he's got an ill 4 or 5 minute freestyle with Funk Master Flex that you don't know if a lot of these guys, you don't know if they can transition from just being mixtape cats and just dudes that get on something like a sit down with a Flex and just spit out 100 bars and blow you away, but you don't know if none of that really translates to an album. So that's what I'm looking forward to see what's going on with RJ Payne in that lane. Really quickly, shout out to Fred the Godson, who passed away from the coronavirus, COVID-19, 2 or 3 over the weekend, I believe. But so let me get into this. I'm gonna run down these. I'm not gonna talk about all of these songs. I'm just gonna give you some highlights on it. Let me know if you've heard of it. If you've heard of it, Grind to Survive is the first joint. I'm not even gonna get into no lyrics or nothing, but Grind to Survive is a pretty decent joint, especially to start the album off. There's they got a little intro on there called Lucky 13. It gets through quickly and gets into the album. This now I'm on Stage is the third track on there, the second actual song, and that's when I really started I started listening to this cat. He kind of reminds me, I don't know, years ago there was a kid named Mike Geronimo who was from Queens, also from Queens. Flea Lord is from Queens. He almost sounds like him, and then he also kind of sounds like Onyx a little bit, maybe like Fredro Starr. He's not kind of manipulating his voice to kind of sound really grimy like the way that Onyx used to do it. It's just he kind of has it's not really raspy, but it's an interesting voice. But it kind of made me check out a couple of the songs to see, was he doing something with his voice, or is it really just naturally how he spits? But it sounds like it's more of a natural thing versus doing something kind of gimmicky or whatnot. But now I'm on Stage. It's just like braggadocious. Look at me, I made it. Supposedly this dude's been around since like 2011 and was actually a good friend of, or had built a strong relationship with Prodigy prior to him passing. And actually how he got hooked up with Griselda is Griselda came over to the hospital to visit Prodigy while he was ill, and Prodigy kind of put them together and said, all of y'all are kind of on the same thing. Y'all should work together in the future. And the relationship just kind of, blossomed from there. So, but now I'm on Stage is one of the standout joints on here. I also like Gladiators featuring Daniel's son. That's not a bad joint. Jenny featuring Gutter. I like the beat on that one. It's a pretty hot album song. He's talking about Jenny. I think he's getting a female to kind of do some schemes and whatnot with him, or some scams and whatnot. Some street stuff. 6 is Made Men featuring Conway the Machine. It's probably the highlight on the album. Conway is one of the big East Coast dudes right now. That a lot of people are excited about, and he does what he usually does on here. But the beat, this is probably by far the best track on the album. Again, it's called Made Men. It's possibly the highlight for me. I listened to it about 2 or 3 times while I was out running today. So I don't know the songs that well to really run into each one of these, but I know Made Men was hot. I know Jenny was decent. Now I'm on Stage was straight. Grind to Survive. Honestly, obviously with the title like that, he's talking about making it from the streets and doing whatever he has to do to get it in. Heron is track 7. I think that's a pretty solid song. I'm not that one's not jumping out to me. We Mobbin' is track number 8 featuring Snipe Life. Pretty decent track. Like I said, I don't think anything on here was bad. Track number 9 is Uptown Flow. Again, I think that one was pretty solid, but nothing. The title doesn't jump out to me. Number 10 was called Fresh Off Tour, and it was another one of probably my top 4 songs on there. He's kind of just bragging again and talking trash about being successful and coming up, and his hard work kind of paying off. He relies on some choruses more so than a lot of guys don't always do choruses like they used to, or it's more chanting more so than anything. It's pretty popular. It's more like a chanting chorus, but he actually has some choruses with like 2 or 4 bars, kind of like what was hot maybe in the early aughts. But Fresh Off Tour, like I said, is one of the top 3, top 4 songs on there. And then it closes out with track 11, which is Lucky 13. So, like I said, man, a new dude I hadn't heard too much about. The album actually came out yesterday. I thought they had who. It's not even a lot of information out here on Flea Lord, to be honest with you. But it's not a Griselda album or Griselda Records album. It's not a Black Soprano. He's got some other name. I think it's his own little imprint. They don't even have it on here. But yes, it's a dope project, man. I'm gonna check it out a few more times. I enjoyed it. It's short. I think it's a quick listen. I think that does well to a guy who I don't know what he looks like. I think he might be Latino or biracial or something, but I think he might be Latino. I'm gonna leave it at that. But like I said, man, he's got some personality. Lyrics, he won't blow you away lyrically. He is pretty solid though. You can definitely tell who the influences are. And like I said, I think the highlight here really is the production of DJ Shay. I think he gave him some original songs. Some original beats. I hadn't heard the samples used a whole lot. And that's another highlight of the project, is just the fact that that New York, that traditional New York sound with the sampling and the boom bap drums and all of that type of stuff. It's just having such a resurgence right now. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. Again, I've mentioned it before, man. I'm not the biggest fan of all of the constant street talk, but he is talking about moving, trafficking drugs, defending his territory, getting busy and wild with ladies and whatnot. It is what it is. But it's not horrible really. So I would suggest to check it out, man. If I had to give it anything out of 5, 5 stars, I'd probably say a strong 3.5 or 3 3/4. That's a pretty decent album. So if anybody want to come into the comments later on down the line and let me know if they heard this project and you're a fan of it, I'd be interested in chopping it up with you. I'm getting ready to get on to this basketball talk. Let me get this off of here real quick. where do I want to start? So I told you I'm gonna talk about Isiah Thomas and everybody needing to put some respect on his name. Same thing with Draymond Green, as well as I guess I'll go on and lump that MJ versus LeBron talk in there. This whole thing with Isiah Thomas, man, they got him in here apologizing because Jordan is in his feelings a little bit in his last dance thing, and he's on it. And the whole thing revolves around the fact that they didn't shake hands with them when they dethroned the Pistons back in the day to go to their first championship. I mean, their first finals visit against the Lakers. Now I don't have to say a whole lot here because Jalen Rose already really put on. I mean, he really spoke for the city, and put it all together. This is a kid coming over from Chicago, inner city Chicago, coming out of a successful collegiate career, 2 years in Bloomington at Indiana, and won a national title as a sophomore. Goes off to the Olympic team. He was most outstanding player. Comes out number 2 overall in the draft to the Pistons, and got things cooking. And now, if you look at one thing from the first 2 episodes, one thing that they all said when Jordan was drafted was that nobody was really that big on Jordan at the time in what his impact was going to be. Nobody really saw it becoming what it was because he was a small guy. And back then the league was built inside out. And the thinking was you got a good big man, you shoot high percentage shots, and you run your offense through your big man. And so that was said by a few different players that they had in the documentary, or in the first 2 episodes. So here, if we look at Isiah Thomas, he's in the same boat, but maybe at the back of the ship because he's even smaller than Michael Jordan at 6'1", 6 feet or whatever. Did have some excellent hops in college, but definitely wasn't a high flyer and playing above the rim or above the box, around the rim. That wasn't his game. So, but yeah, he's facing even tougher odds because he's shorter, less athletic, and he really has to he has to run the team, and he's not the scorer that MJ is. But to get into his stats, man, 12-time All-Star, 2-time MVP. When he went to the Olympics, he comes out as in 1980 he's the USA Basketball Male Athlete of the Year, which was something that I didn't even know till he mentioned it on one of the shows earlier. But that was an accomplishment in itself. Like I said, the number 2 pick. And then you got to look, man. In his runs to the titles, he had to not only get to the finals, but he had to take out an all-time great in Larry Bird before he got there, and the Celtics organization. He had to take down one of the foremost franchises in the game just to get to the big, to the finals. And we all saw how that played out with the 2 or 3 years that they needed to, to take out the Celtics just to have the honor, to get into the finals. Then they get into the finals and they go to 7 games the first year with the Lakers. Now, as Isiah Thomas mentioned, nobody got his ass kicked more than Isiah Thomas in that first finals. Here he is, 6'1", 6 foot. Magic Johnson is just bullying the dude, roughing him up. You all know about, him having to play on the bad ankle and everything. And so he took his lumps. He comes out, he plays on that bad ankle to get him through the game 6 that they lost. And then they come back and they lose the game 7 by like 2 points. No problem. They come back the next year. They have to go through Jordan and the Bulls, through the Celtics, and go back against the Lakers, and they sweep them. They sweep them. They come back the next year, got to deal with the Bulls who are on the come, get past them, get back and play Portland, and then take them out. He gets his finals MVP. And then they come back the next year, they don't beat the Bulls. But almost had a three-peat. Very narrowly lost out on the bad boys not just being back-to-back, but getting a three-peat. Nobody really cared about the Pistons. Which Jalen Rose already said, here it is, you're going up against storied franchises like the Lakers and the Celtics, and nobody wants to see the Pistons win, but he got it done. So now he comes to the situation, he has to point out that that's how they lost. The Celtics walked off the court without congratulating them, which I kind of remember that. I remember that as he brings it up. But again, he comes on the ESPN shows today and says, well, that's how the torch was handed to us. As it wasn't handed to us. We had to walk out onto the court and pick it up and hold the torch because they had went into the locker room. So here it is. They come up against the Bulls and they leave the court early. And, now Horace Grant wants to call them some bitches. Michael was sitting here like it happened yesterday. And I don't understand. I don't understand what the problem is. And then, like Zeke says, the totality of all of this, the Jordan rules, the physical play, and then being looked at as the ringleader when Lane Beard was the one that planted the idea and everybody that started this, and he goes along with it. But this cost this man from being on a team that he obviously deserved to be on. Obviously deserved to be on the dream team. So, but and now all of this, to sit and watch LeBron play a lot of these games in the playoffs, especially going through the Eastern Conference all of those years, to sit up and watch guys not even challenge him. Especially in the first 2 rounds. To sit up and watch players not even challenge LeBron. Nobody taking charges. Not too many guys even really putting their body on the line to make contact with him. Like it's a different game now. Nobody takes none of this stuff personal. Some of these guys at the end of the season, they looking at how they can go to the best team in a couple of months and get into a situation where they can win a ring. It's different. Isiah played his whole career with Detroit. You beat the man. He's kept off the dream team. What the hell more you want for the guy? So to me, it just seems like a non-story. I think it was good sport of Isiah Thomas to even take out his time. Actually, I wonder if we weren't in this quarantine situation, I wonder if he even bothers putting on a suit and tie. I think he even had the vest game going too. But to put on his 3-piece suit and sit there and have to explain yourself for what? For what? I don't get it. Y'all didn't like each other. You weren't supposed to like each other. It was great television. The bad boys. You got to look at all of these teams that have multiple championships. And it's it's 3 or 4 teams who've won like 80% or something of all the NBA finals. It's a handful of teams. And then you got this one team in the middle of all that who was able to do a repeat. I mean, yeah, who was able to do back to back. You just don't have to apologize for nothing, man. Get over it. Get over it. Damn, the man sitting here he owns the team in Charlotte. The man owns a team, an empire in the apparel game. Sneakers still selling out. Not in the last couple of years, they've done a little less, but you've won everything. You got the gold as the dream team. You got the dude that you didn't want on the team to be left off of the team, but played for his head coach. I mean, what more does a dude have to do? That's in the boxing game. Brothers was talking about Devin Haney apologizing for his comment last week. It was tough to see Isiah Thomas sit here and have to say and explain himself today on 2 or 3 different shows. Up at 8 a.m. on there would Get Up, explaining this to them. Isiah Thomas, it is what it is, man. Get over it. He did what he did. Nobody else is being called on the carpet for this. They didn't call Little Joe. They didn't call Joe Dumars. I think you can't even really throw Rodman in here because he's relative to the documentary. He's with the Bulls, so he don't even go back and address that too much. John Sally, nobody cares what he has to say. Everybody's pointing the finger. Daly. Chuck Daly is deceased, so he can't answer for it. So it's all sitting here thrown at Isaiah's feet. It is what it is. Get on. So let me get on to this Draymond Green situation, man. What I was talking about. He's been on a couple of podcasts this week. I know he did. I don't know what the name of the show is, but he was on the live stream on for the Uninterrupted channel, I believe, with the Paul Revere cat and Maverick Carter. And I thought it was a pretty good hour of discussion. I think he had a couple of bad moments. I think he compared himself to some people or some situations from today to back then. He'll never be a winner, in my opinion. He can't win the situation with what he did, with KD in that situation. But I just got a little tired this year, man, with people just taking shots at him because he had the down year that he had. The brother has a limited game. We all knew that. He's not a great shooter. Actually, he's not that great of a ball handler. And he's pretty much either strikeout or home run in the fact that when he can knock down some threes, I think his confidence took a hit for a moment. But when he could knock down some threes, he either shot a 3 or he was getting an alley-oop, or he was getting it was in a layup situation. But he does absolutely nothing from mid-range. I don't even think he looks at the basket for mid-range shots, which I think is a glaring weakness to his game, honestly. And I can't believe that no time in the gym has really been spent expanding that area of his game. But the reason why I'm not gonna get too mad at him, I'm not too down on him. I'm not kicking him while he's down this year. While Clay was gone, KD had moved on, and he's out there with a couple of rookies or young kids. Pat Shaw from Villanova being out there. Some other, they just pieced the team together this year. Now to think that he was gonna go out and be a 18 or 20 point per night guy, that just wasn't gonna happen. But I'm not coming for Draymond because of this, man. Because back in 2016, the 72-9 team, or the 73-9. I'm sorry, the 73-9 squad when they lost the 1-3 deficit. Draymond played his ass off in that series. And the fact that he had to sit out that 6th game is still a bullshit moment, in my opinion, in the finals. For him and LeBron to get tangled up, him to swing his arm up and hit LeBron in his groin or whatever. I mean, the whole situation, like, again, that's what we doing now. A flagrant 2 or whatever it was, and it cost him a game. After they go and review it, I believe was a situation. But for him to have to miss that 6th game, man, it was a bad move for me. But I see why it happens, and it happens, you know. But anyway, what he does for me first in game 2, he leads the team with 28 points. As a team's 3rd or 4th option, really 4th option, maybe even 5th option, to get 28 points in a finals game, it's a lot of decent teammates out there that don't get 28 points. I think he went 5 of 8 from 3-point in that game, in the second, in game 2. But in game 7, he comes back and scores 32 points. Like, I missed game 6. I screwed up. I wasn't here. You know, I got caught up in some BS in game 5. I wasn't here to help us close this thing out. I directly contributed to us being in this pressure cooker situation. It's a game 7. I'm going to come out here and try to make it right. And he goes out there and gets 32 points. Now, it's only been a handful of games where a player had 32 or more points in a game 7. I just told you earlier, MJ never even played in the game 7 in the finals. So that's why his name isn't on there. But LeBron actually has to be the closest guy that he's to in total points. LeBron had 37 points in a game 7. Might even been this one, to be honest. But he had 37 points in the game 7 before. The next couple of dudes that had the highest points ever scored in a game 7 was 42. So somewhere in between 37 points from LeBron and 42 by the top guy. I don't think it was Bob Pettit, but it was some old school cat that had it. The next dude is him with 32 points. Hottest dude who's like a career 12-point, 11-point guy scores 32, hits 6 or 8 3-pointers, trying to make up for the fact that he missed game 6 and goes out there and has the game of his life. I'm just not going to be too mad at Draymond. It's a lot of dudes, it's a lot of number 2s in the history of this thing that didn't show up to that and be that effective in a game 7. So it's cool. We can kick him while he's down. And he joked about it on the Uninterrupted show. He said, it's not easy to win in the league. If you take away 2 players like Clay and Steph, a lot of people would struggle. You know, if you go throughout the history of all these different teams and took away the number 1 and 2 option, or the top 2 of the top 3 options on the team, a lot of guys would look bad. But this doesn't mean the fact that when the whole team was together, even before KD got there, and even as KD was there, that doesn't mean that he wasn't an effective dude playing the position that he needed to play. He allowed him handling the ball more, him passing the rock to Steph on the unanimous MVP season, him rebounding, challenging shots when they had a basic 5. And he's got to do what he can do at 6.5 or 6'7". I just can't be too down on Draymond Green. He's got his rings. He's earned his money. He came out. I mean, how many second-round players are in the league doing anything meaningful? So we can kick him while he's down. I mean, I'm not too mad at people celebrating because he got exposed, quote-unquote, he got exposed this year, or he looked bad. it is what it is. But again, he ain't out here like Barkley. He's not out here like Dominique. He's not out here like Patrick Ewing. He's not out here like Gary Payton. He's not out here like the mailman. He should sleep well at night. He showed up when he was supposed to show up. He played an integral role in winning three titles. I wouldn't even care when nobody was on Twitter talking about me. It wouldn't even matter. Before I get on to this football stuff, the Redskins draft picks and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, to talk about this MJ and LeBron. I know right now with the documentary going on, it's really popular to go back and have this argument that nobody can really win in who's the better player. But I think one thing that really helps MJ out with being the better player is the fact that back in those times, as you can see in this documentary, they've already told Phil Jackson at the beginning of the year that he's out of there. And it was nothing that, even with MJ giving them his ultimatum, Reinsdorf didn't go and make the whole situation right. It was what it was. He said whatever. He said it don't matter if you win 82 games or whatever, you're out after this year. But back in the day, the star player just didn't have the power that he has now. And so what I'm getting at is MJ, the fact that he was able to fall back and just be a player and accept the ball being taken out of his hand as Tex Winter and Phil Jackson implemented this triangle offense, and Jordan's scoring dropped. Excuse me. And he's giving the ball up to other individuals in key moments. The times and the nature of the game at that moment allowed him to accept that. But now here it is for LeBron. LeBron is him in ownership. Like the coach is insignificant. And I just feel like that's what's killed him in his record going to this 3-6 is the fact that in a lot of these situations, I know Spoelstra ran some things and had a little more say so, and then you also had Riley up in there with his influence. But when the Heatles started falling apart, and when D Wade was in and out of the lineup or can only give you 18 minutes, it basically reverted to LeBron ball. And that style of play, he's ran into these teams playing this team-oriented ball. The Spurs with their sticky free ball movement and all of that, all the ball movement and all of the positionless game from Golden State Warriors. LeBron just hasn't been able to beat that. Because he's calling the shots. He's running what he wants to run. And I'm sorry, that can just be beat. That style of basketball can be beat by a decent team. Especially when you have the pieces that the Spurs and Golden State have had. It's not that difficult to beat LeBron ball. So that's what I think that's one thing here that when we look at all the different variables that we break these two up against, how we arrive at our best player, between the two. I just think it's the fact that MJ got pushed into the narrative before The Last Dance came out is that Jordan and Doug Collins fired. Looks like they had a good relationship. Hey, man, why don't you call on in? Let's talk about this Antonio Gibson dude, man. I was going to text you earlier, but I didn't know what you might have going on tonight, so that's why I didn't hit you up and see if you were free, man. But I'd love to get, since you saw the dude play firsthand, man. I really appreciate getting your feedback or your input on what to expect on this Memphis kid. But yeah, looks like they had a good relationship. I mean, and obviously he brought Doug Collins back. I mean, they brought in Doug Collins when he got to DC, right? So, that's that. But what I'm saying though, LeBron is just, and we didn't get to see it this year. We didn't get to see with the coaching staff for the Lakers. It's still a little bit too much him controlling the ball for me and everything running through him, personally. But we don't know if it was going to be successful this year. It probably. I mean, it was trending that way. It definitely was trending that way. But now with this situation, if they're not able to come back, what are they saying now? At the end of May or something is when they, depending on how as states start to reopen the economy. I mean the state economies and whatnot, as that all of that starts unfolding and they get to tracking the information and seeing whether or not there's a way for professional sports to resume. Maybe we get a chance to see what it's about, but who knows what could. I mean, it's gonna be an asterisk by it anyway. We're looking at. There's a chance that it could be 5-game series, or it could be 1 or 2 rounds versus the 4 rounds or whatever. So we don't even know what the format could be. So who knows? It might be a chance for him to get up to that fourth ring, but it's still gonna be an asterisk by it, most likely. So that's it, man. I just think with the league relying on him over the last several years to be to be the face of the league, his popularity, everything that he's been able to do financially with the contracts that he's negotiated, the freedom that he's had to get up and bounce when it was to his advantage. It just wasn't the same situations back in the day. We've seen him shoulder Spoelstra when he was pissed off, walk by him and hit him with the shoulder. We saw what happened with Black. We saw Lou sit over there and basically, say nothing, call nothing, just kind of manage, shuffling in the other 4 dudes and whatnot. But again, I just think with letting everything run through him, even as smart as he is, even as intelligent as he is on the basketball court, just that style of basketball has just not served him well against the better clubs. So, getting into this, I guess I'll say the Redskins situation for last, talking through these draft picks. Just this Aaron Rodgers situation with Green Bay. Green Bay is one of those storied franchises. It's a quiet franchise. There's not much sexy going on there. Nobody's sending planes and sending reporters and whatnot to the middle of the country to cover them all that much. But it's almost just been like they've been able to fly under the radar the last several years with how they've managed personnel and not putting not being able to. They had the one cat that was a wide receiver that was getting a lot of plays at running back. I know that Eddie Lacy, he had a good season and a half, 2 seasons or whatever, and then he ran into the concussions and injuries and whatnot. He was out of there. They got a guy now that's that they're kind of Adam Jones or whatever. I think his last name is Jones. But the fact that this wide receiving class was as deep as it was, and some 20 wide receivers get drafted, something like that, high teens. And not to get this man, a weapon is just unbelievable. And then to draft this quarterback from Utah State or whatnot. I mean, they're not even the same kind of quarterback in my opinion. But like I said, man, Green Bay, the front office has just gotten a pass. But they've squandered having a top three all-time quarterback in green and gold for all this time and haven't really done. I mean, they have, 4 NFC championship games, I guess. One Super Bowl champion. They won one title with him. But, yeah, the way that talent just hasn't been able... they haven't been able to retool and reload. It's shameful. And now, for him to have this this burdensome contract, with the money that he's making over the next several years, and it almost looks like they're choosing the LaFleur cat and maybe making some kind of move here in the next 2 years or so, if not sooner. I would imagine, if they can get somebody to take on Rodgers' contract, but it's just very weird. And then to sit here today and watch all of the on-air people, for ESPN, Ryan Clark. I don't know if Swagoo Cat was on there today. The other brother that used to play for the Ravens. For all of them to sit there and just run with the assumption that Aaron Rodgers is going to work well and be a mentor to this kid, I don't see that at all. We know that Brett Favre really didn't do a whole lot with him. But over the last couple of years, I mean, it's kind of been Rodgers and the offense, or Rodgers and the Packers. I mean, it's everybody that's left there has not spoke glowingly about their relationship with Rodgers, and I don't think he's just a flat out asshole or anything, but it's just him and them. So I don't really see him doing a whole lot with this kid, especially as the media catches on to the situation, and once they make up their mind of what they want the narrative to become, then this situation is, especially if they're not heading towards the playoffs, or if there's some more fireworks between LaFleur and Rodgers, we know that it's a bit of a power struggle because the offense kind of limits Rodgers' ability to audible and whatnot and do the things that he likes to do. And a guy of his stature to have that restriction on him is already an issue. But they won last year, so they figured it out. But it's just kind of funny, man, that this front office has sat here and really hasn't been taking a task for wasting one of the top quarterbacks that we've seen. Let me get into this Redskins draft talk. Just because that's my squad. What was I about to do here? Yeah, so it seems like checking on multiple sources or outlets. It seems like this is being looked at as A class or A- class, maybe even a B+ in one or two that I saw. I don't know if I see it as being that strong. It just feels like we have a lot of unknowns, and only winning 2 or 3 games this past season. It just seemed like they did the no-brainer with Chase Young. I think they were trying to fill some offers to see if anybody would come up off of the type of picks that we gave up to get RG3 back in the day. I think they did that, and nobody was really biting. Hopefully trying to pick up, a pick to get into the second round. But that didn't come to fruition. And then also they had the situation where they couldn't offload Trent Williams. They wanted a second or something significant for him. That didn't occur either. And, it was like Chase Young is the obvious thing to do. Now, we can all probably run with the fact that he is probably the best prospect in the whole draft. It was just the fact that, the Bengals obviously needed a quarterback, moving on from their longtime signal caller. But, Young is phenomenal, and if he follows in the footsteps of what we've seen with Joey and Nick Bosa, and if he goes on and do some of the things that we've seen from Mac, J.J. Watt, so on and so forth, that's great. But again, a lot of these high-priced edge dudes, they aren't really it's not resulting in Super Bowl trips. I don't even think. And these guys are pricey as hell. So it's almost like you're on the clock now to quickly. And now, so they kind of had the same thing going on with the San Francisco 49ers, where you have four former first round guys all across this line. But I'm sorry, man. Payne, Allen, these guys got to step up and actually be something. And I know it's been injury riddled. I know the former defensive coordinator wasn't really running wasn't really playing these guys to their strengths, so on and so forth. But it's somebody on the team has to step up as a leader. Like, you don't even know none of these guys. These guys don't appear on any of the national shows throughout the week. I know last year, Rex Ryan looked at these guys, at this unit, as the number 3 defense going into the season. Didn't finish anywhere. After 2 or 3 weeks, it was nowhere near like that level of effectiveness as a unit. So, the thought is that Chase Young can come in and, second year with Sweat opposite of him. They probably move Kerrigan into some kind of rotation, in more of a rotational role probably. Ioannidis, those two guys are probably playing, lesser minutes and whatnot. But again, with the glaring issues in getting a reliable DB, which we still kind of didn't do here. Didn't do anything in the offseason, in the free agency market and whatnot. So anyway, it's like I said, it's like you just put everything on, hey, we got Chase Young. And the rest of this stuff, honestly just seems like a bunch of projects to me. Now, this Antonio Gibson cat, I think he's like 6'2", runs the 4.3, spent some time at running back, had some success at Memphis in the passing game and running back. I want to believe. But coming out of when you don't have a number 2 pick to run with Antonio Gibson, I'm not blown away. And then I'm hearing one thing that started coming to my mind was we're hearing everything that he did in his senior year at Memphis. 11 or 14 touchdowns or something, some running, some receiving, maybe 44 receptions, which is kind of similar to what McLaurin was in some regards. McLaurin wasn't active in the running game at Ohio State, but he didn't look like he was going to be a volume guy in terms of receptions and whatnot. But then he comes into the league and his hands are better than advertised. And he's actually a bright spot, and it looks like he could be the number 1 guy in the receiving core. Gibson, but like I said, man, it's just 1 year. It's just 1 year. Good size, good speed. I think it was one of the top few 40-yard dashes at the combine and whatnot. But you just wish it was more of a proven track record coming in at the top of the third round with no pick in the second. So we'll see. Now the third pick, Sadiq Charles. It seems like in my opinion, it seems like it's a lot of questions about the guy, but I guess I can't say nothing when you're taking a guy who came from a national championship team that just did all kind of outstanding and record-breaking things offensively at LSU, which we know has always struggled to be a juggernaut offensively when Miles was up in there. So I'm somewhat positive that, or optimistic at least, that it's you getting somebody who comes from a great culture. Everything that they did at LSU, you at least coming from a situation where it was a lot of excellence in everything that you do, preparation throughout the week. The fact that they beat 7 top 10 teams or something throughout the year, set the record for total points in a season and all of that. So with him being a tackle, he had to play a role in all of that. We know that the running back got off, the Hilaire Edwards kid or whatever. We know that he had a lot of impact this year. Went to the Chiefs. The wide receiver core and all of that. I mean, a phenomenal team. So I gotta feel like Charles had to play some role in that, but it does sound like he has some things to shore up to be a factor at the next level. Honestly, in reading the scouting report, I'm kind of concerned that I don't really foresee him starting in week 1. And we know, the absence of Trent Williams with him going to the 49ers. So, again, he seems like a bit of a project to me. Hopefully he can play some minutes, though, this year. Then we come back at 142 and get this Antonio Gandy Golden kid from Liberty. I love dude's personality. He's a thoughtful kid. Good size. Seems to be, I don't know if I'd say a Mohamed Sanu type of guy, but, a bigger physical wide receiver. Move the chains. Maybe be a good target in the red zone and whatnot. But I think he ran like a 4.6. Again, it's all wait and see. It's all wait and see with the kid. I really don't have watching him speak with the ESPN people. I think maybe Monday he was on there. He's big. He's a really thoughtful dude. Really athletic in terms of his agility. Great agility. Dude is 6'4" or something, 230 pounds. Can do a backflip. Doesn't seem to be a real stiff guy at that height and weight and whatnot. Seems like a dude that be able to pick up the playbook and everything. It's just can he produce? So again, it seems like for me, going from that first round with Chase Young and then getting into the third and taking Gibson, it just seems like everything from there was is just wait and see. Now I'm gonna be honest, I don't know much about this kid from San Diego State, the center. I'm kind of hopeful that that's just one of those dudes that can play football and at least can block and can work out, or at least and can work out as a and make the team, for and be a contributor over the next couple years. Center is kind of one of those positions where you don't think much about it until you got an outstanding center. So we'll have to see. I don't know a whole lot about the dude. Then we get to round 5 with Khaleke Hudson, and as a Michigan fan, I'm not over the moon with Khaleke Hudson. Incidentally, a cat that I work with is from Pennsylvania and put me on to Khaleke Hudson when he was in high school. It's like a friend of his, a high school friend of his or something. It's his son. And so I started watching Khaleke Hudson on Rivals or whatever, and watching. He was actually a hell of a running back in high school, but he's only 5'11". At Michigan, they had him in that hybrid position, and I'm sorry, man, but I just saw the brother in the box a lot of times, and I didn't see good results with him in there. He did block. I think he blocked like 5 punts or something. Did some things on special teams. I think he runs pretty well. I don't foresee him being an NFL linebacker. Maybe does something in special teams. Maybe I'm hopeful at 5'11" that he can switch to safety and can run well enough to play safety. But I honestly don't see him. The number of times that I watched him on replays, and now I don't know. Maybe at the end of his career, the way that things didn't work out there, the early season losses, and then them having to fight their way back in to be in the picture later in the season, only to go up against Ohio State and get absolutely embarrassed. Maybe his confidence was messed up. Maybe he just felt like as a unit. And then they had all the guys that moved on, in the previous year. They had 3 or 4 guys, Gary, a couple dudes that went on to start, in the league and whatnot. Maybe with them moving on, maybe he just, maybe he wasn't there competitively or with his competitive spirit. But like I said, man, there was a lot of replays that I watched and the camera was dead on him. He was supposed to do something in the hole, and J.K. Dobbins was running 70 yards down the field, and Hudson looked like he just mailed it in on that play. So I'm not too optimistic about him. Again, this safety from Arkansas, I'm not too familiar with him at all. I mean, it's the 7th round pick. He seemed like a project special teams guy too. And that's what kills me about the front office and the scout team and everything and whatnot here. It just doesn't seem as hard to be able to draft a defensive back. I mean, but it goes year after year after year with this position, and being that we're in the passing era, all of the dominant wide receivers that are out there throughout the league, you gotta have somebody who can take care of one side of the field. And then you see, Breland was never good enough. It was always an issue with him. But then he goes over to he gets over to KC and gets a chip. And we sitting here with a it just seems like a rotating door over there. So we'll see. So I don't know what to expect from this Cameron Curl cat. Time in the SEC, again, relying on the scouting department to see something in this kid that can be developed. And then lastly, with this pick 229, it's James Smith-Williams from I don't even know where this cat is from. Oh, NC State. They've had a good little run of picking up some dudes. They got the Holcomb cat, I think, is from NC State, and the wide receiver that did a little bit of something last year. So it seems like they've had some good luck in going down there, and some of those guys turning out to be something. So then again, we addressed the edge with the first pick. So, and then you got a second-year guy like Sweat being opposite of Chase Young. So, I guess this guy doesn't have to produce right away, but it'll be, if he can be effective, we'll see. But again, like I said, man, I don't see much to get super excited about beyond what the impact of Chase Young could be if he is as advertised. A quiet offseason, like I said, in the free agency game. Didn't get back what they had hoped to get back in value, in terms of value for Trent Williams. Looks like it's gonna be pretty tricky to improve on that 3-3. I mean that 3-13. Oh, I'm not really gonna run into all of the undrafted cats. I think they got a wide receiver out of Temple. Name wise, everybody would like to see what goes on with Thaddeus Moss, who also played at LSU. We'll see. I think they got 4 guys total after the undrafted cats that they brought in. We'll see what happens, man. Again, I'm gonna give some time to Rivera. He was able to put together a solid defense. With a number of standout guys. He seemed like he was able to get guys at all 3 levels that could contribute and could play. In a couple of those years, they had above average defenses. He led the team, coached the team to a 15-1 record. I like that he was in the coming out of the NFC South. He's used to putting up some points, to compete with the Saints. The years when Atlanta has been able to score points, I think that's been another tough thing for the Redskins in recent years, is scoring above, the high teens. Like I said, when he's down there competing with the Saints and even some years with Tampa Bay, needing to score 34, 35, even 42 points to win a game sometimes. And he never had the best wide receiving core to even light up the scoreboard. But like I said, he was able to win down there. And a lot of times I saw where they were able to get up into the 30s and the mid-30s in total points, for a game. So I like that he comes from needing to be that competitive or needing to play that type of ball. Like I said, he was able to draft cornerbacks. He had Kuechly and Davis, the Davis cat, who's now in D.C. He had, Kewan Short, I believe, on the line. What's his name was there? The guy that some people are saying Chase Young reminds them of. Peppers. Peppers was there and whatnot. So, like I said, I'm optimistic that he can, with him and Del Rio, they can get that together. We have to see what the offensive coordinator can do with, a lot of the controversy on the team, or the questions about the team revolves around, how effective Haskins can be in his second year. I'm somewhat optimistic for Haskins and whatnot. So, it's quite a few question marks on the team. Geis's health at running back. He's already had like three knee injuries in just 2 seasons, I believe. I think he's just going into his 3rd. So, how long term of an answer is he? The Bryce Love kid needs to come back. He's still on the team. They picked up McKissick, who had some bright moments for a while. They signed the Barber dude over from Tampa Bay, who led them in rushing. like I said, they have Geis, who ideally, he would be the guy that we would want to be the featured guy back there, but can his body hold up? And then lastly, we have the old man, AP. Who knows what what Peterson brings to the team this year? At some point in time, what is he, 33, 34? I mean, at some point in time, it's hard to see him being able to have that much of a workload and really being effective. 12, 14 carries. I mean, what's the likelihood of that? So who knows? We'll see. We'll see. Like I said, man, I'm more than willing to give Ron Rivera, not the first coach that I wanted to see, but I did kind of see that being the reality. Once some of the different coaches started being signed and whatnot, it did kind of become obvious that was the direction that they were going in. He was a guy who had been let go during the season and whatnot, and he has experience. The whole Riverboat Ron thing. Oh, and Ron, I like that he ran a lot of years. He had a really run-based, physical offense. Really, really physical offense. So, like I said, I'm willing to see what as he starts putting pieces together. I really think the defense. If this could be a top 10 unit, if they can get off the field on third down, if they can really put some pressure on quarterbacks, the way that those 4 number ones in Frisco was able to do it, that could make everybody on the back end that much more effective with them just being able to get that done. So we'll see. Look, man, I'm getting ready to get on off of here. Like I said, I just had a bunch of random topics to run through. Definitely like to hear if anybody decides to check out that Flea Lord album, Lucky 13. Definitely love to hear from anybody that might check that out. Other than that, man, let me get on out of here. Like I always say, man, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Peace.